The state hitting its vaccine equity goal today of 2 million doses. The good news, that is, for San Diegans and business owners. Plus, ABC 10 News got a first look at how San Diego Unified is transforming its classrooms to welcome back students and teachers. And relief for COVID survivors who are still experiencing symptoms long after the virus has passed. The treatment's available for those long haulers.
ABC 10 News at 4 starts now.
Today, the state announced that many purple tier counties will be moving into the red tier next week, including San Diego. Good afternoon. I'm Kimberly Hunt, and this means gyms, restaurants, movie theaters, and more will be able to reopen indoors at limited capacity. Another big change is coming next week. Millions of Californians with high-risk medical conditions or disabilities will be eligible to get the COVID-19 vaccine starting Monday. ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala breaks it all down.
California has reached its goal of vaccinating 2 million people in the hardest hit communities across the state, meaning the state's reopening plan has been updated. Before, counties had to have a case rate of 7 per 100,000 people to get out of the purple tier. That number has now changed to 10 per 100,000. The state says San Diego County is expected to be reassigned to the red tier on Tuesday, and then the adjustment will take effect on Wednesday. In the red tier, gyms, restaurants, museums, and movie theaters will be able to reopen indoors at a limited capacity. Another big change to come, an estimated 4.4 million Californians with health risks will be eligible to get a COVID-19 vaccine starting Monday. Vaccine eligibility is expanding to people between the ages of 16 and 64 with specific disabilities or high-risk medical conditions like cancer, chronic kidney disease, heart conditions, Down syndrome, and more. But supply remains an issue, so appointments will be limited. The state's guidance says those who are eligible should first try to go through their healthcare provider, and providers with vaccines available will reach out to patients who qualify. Other options will include pharmacies, local health departments, community pop-up clinics, and the state's My Turn website. An interesting note, people who qualify will not have to show documentation proving they have a high-risk medical condition or disability. Instead, the state says they'll be asked to sign a self-attestation that they meet the criteria outlined by the state. In a phone conference Monday, Dr. Mark Galley, California's Health and Human Services Secretary, said the state determined this would be best to remove barriers for vulnerable populations. Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
The California Department of Public Health says as vaccine supply increases throughout the spring, more appointments will become available.
The Biden administration says it has the authority to direct states to open vaccine eligibility to all adult Americans by May 1st. They expect to have enough COVID vaccine supply for all adults by the end of May. To get ready for this, they say they'll be getting the COVID vaccine to hundreds of additional community health centers. They'll also be doubling the number of pharmacies that have the vaccine available. They're also working to increase the number of people who can administer those vaccines by expanding who's eligible. That will now include dentists, EMTs, midwives, optometrists, and veterinarians. Now, you'll want to start watching your bank account this weekend. The first stimulus checks from the relief package that President Biden signed yesterday are expected to start hitting bank accounts. The payments will continue over the next several weeks. Now, just like the last two times, if you receive the money by direct deposit, you will get it the fastest. The Biden administration will focus over the next coming weeks in how it will distribute all of the other money in the aid package. The Education Department plans to begin distributing the billions of dollars going to schools this month. The Treasury Department is working with governors and mayors to finalize a plan for how to best distribute billions in state and local aid.
Well, a big change in this stimulus payment is private debt could be deducted from people's checks. This doesn't include back taxes, child support, or other government debt. It would affect people who have a judgment against them for unpaid private debt, and the creator has access to that person's banking information. Banks could also deduct any overdraft fees from stimulus money, and many waived them back in December. You will want to check with your bank. It's finally game day. Many high school football players will return to the field for the first time since the pandemic began. ABC 10 News reporter Marie Cornell spoke to a family about what this day means to them.
After a battle in court and lots of added COVID-19 precautions, high school football players will return to the gridiron for their first game since the pandemic shut everything down.
I'm super excited. I mean, I couldn't be more prepared and excited to just go back out there. It's been over a year now.
That's Scripps Ranch High School quarterback Luke Durkin and his mom Melanie. They thought this day would never come, the moment Luke would finally put his jersey back on and play in his first football game of his senior year. Getting to this point hasn't been easy as they dealt with school closures and COVID-19 restrictions, including rigid testing and a reduced schedule.
Once we got the green light, like it just, my whole focus just focused on this season and this game in particular. So yeah, I feel ready.
But part of those restrictions includes the school district's decision not to allow spectators, which Melanie says is now forcing families to find other ways to catch a glimpse of the game.
I haven't figured out if I'm going to stand at the fence shoulder to shoulder with so many families, which would be much less socially distanced and less safe, or if I'm going to try to watch the live stream that we're trying to get working right now.
Though that part is still up in the air, the Durkin family says today the focus is simple. High school football is finally back.
We haven't dropped that fight, but right now, today, it's game day. We're focusing on that, and we'll pick up that fight, I guess, tomorrow and try to get us in the stands for next Friday.
Marie Cornell, ABC 10 News.
We're already seeing the impact of safety precautions required to bring youth sports back. A game between Mission Hills and Grossmont was called off tonight due to positive coronavirus testing. And we have new information on a deadly shooting last night at Sunset View Park in Chula Vista. A 17-year-old boy was killed. The gunman is still on the loose. Police say the boy was at the park with friends when he got into an argument with a group of people. One of those people pulled a handgun and shot the victim. Those witnesses told police the shooter and the group were males between 17 and 20 years old, saying they left in a dark four-door Honda or Acura. Anyone with information is asked to call Chula Vista Police. A former San Diego sheriff's captain who pleaded guilty to running an illegal gun trafficking ring has been sentenced to 2 years in prison. Marco Garmo was sentenced this morning. Prosecutors say Garmo bought and resold guns available only to law enforcement while falsifying the records. The judge today describing it as a level where Garmo almost became a mob boss, and he'll have to pay $8,300 in fines. The Minneapolis City Council unanimously approved a $27 million settlement to George Floyd's estate. $500,000 of that will go toward the memorial to the 46-year-old. The 13-0 decision came down as jurors are being selected in the trial of the former officer charged in Floyd's death. Floyd died in May when Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin knelt on his knee for more than 8 minutes. After the settlement was approved, Floyd's sister said the family is pleased to have some justice for George.
This week marked 1 year since the country was changed by the coronavirus pandemic. We've seen a lot of significant changes and events just this week. President Biden says if proper health guidelines are followed, the country could have fewer restrictions by the 4th of July.
By July the 4th, there's a good chance you, your families and friends will be able to get together and have a cookout and a barbecue.
Man, wouldn't that be nice? But more states are already starting to ease restrictions. Just this week, the mask mandate in Texas ended. Some critics say that is too soon.
When you start doing things like completely putting aside all public health measures as if you're turning a light switch off, that's quite risky. We don't want to see another surge, and that's inviting one when you do that.
Mississippi lifted nearly all pandemic restrictions this week as well. Arizona, California, and South Carolina have most recently announced a dial back of restrictions. And in California, one school there is trying to keep students from going on spring break. The University of California, Davis offering $75 to the first 500 students who vow not to travel for spring break. Now, as we look back on this 1 year of trouble and triumph, the Smithsonian is making sure that a piece of history is preserved. The vaccine vial of the first COVID vaccine in the United States will live at the Smithsonian. Now, other items related to the pandemic, including a vaccination card, will also be preserved.